What's going on, everybody? Evan here with Evan's Detailing and Polishing. Today we're going to go through polisher utensil lingo. Alright, so on the workbench behind me here, we got a bunch of different things. We got a grinder, a polisher, and we got two different types of sanders. I'm going to try to go through this the best I can to try and explain it a little better. We get a lot of people asking us in the comments on these videos, what's the difference between a grinder and a buffer. I'll break those down. And then I use the term DA a lot. It's not always the proper term to use, it's just the quickest for me. There's two different types of sanders. There's DA, or dual action, and Random Orbit, or RO. So there's two different types of sanders. We also use rotary, but we've already done a video on rotary and DA, the difference between the two. But today we're going to break down the difference between DA and Random Orbit because they can kind of look the same. And it's something you should know and something you should look for. So I'll start with the buffers. So these two right here. This one's my bad boy, the 6,000 RPM that we use every day in the shop. And this one is the 3500 variable speed, smaller one that we also use in the shop. So this is considered a grinder. 6,000 RPM. You can also get them in, I know DeWalt makes an 8,500. For me, that's way too fast. The buffs aren't safe at that. But this one's my tool of choice. You'll find that in the description below. This is the GA7021. We have links for them on our Amazon. And then this little guy here is the 9227C. We use that one for white buffing, soft buffs, anything we're going to finish. But this is our heavy lifter. We use this a lot. This one, the 9227C, is the one we recommend for all of our beginners. And it's definitely a good place to start when you start polishing. Once you start getting the hang of it and you're not killing yourself, then bump up to the 6,000. You'll cut twice as fast, you get twice as much done, you build up more heat faster, and you'll definitely get things done a lot quicker. But this one is a must for white buffs. White buffs will not hold up at 6,000 RPM. They will blow out really, really quick. So anytime you got to use a soft buff, variable speed's where it's at. You have to use a variable. Whereas the big buffs, you can use them for the stiffer buffs, your reds, your oranges, yellows, purples, greens, pinks, whatever. But these work really well. So that's pretty simple. This one here is a grinder, and this one's a buffer slash polisher. So if you're looking them up online, a grinder is going to spin really fast, 6,000, and a buffer or a polisher is going to spin variable speed usually. One thing I do want to recommend is finding either a 7-inch or a 9-inch in either one. Most buffs are 8 inches or larger, 9-inch, 10-inch. The size rating on your buffer is the size rating that it can handle normal torque specs. So a 7-inch should be running a 7-inch buff. Most of us don't run 7-inch buffs because a 7x3 would be really tiny and it'd be worthless. So most of our grinders are either 7-inch or 9-inch. Our 9-inch grinders hold up really well for doing like trailer rails and stuff like that, but they're also really super heavy. So we use the 7-inch and hope for the best usually, and that's about as far as that goes. So once again, grinder, GA7021, buffer polisher, 9227C, and variable speed. Set speed on the grinder, variable speed here. That's a workout, I like it. So now, onto the sanders. Now sanders come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. They come long like this, they come short like this, some have triggers, some have on-off switches. What you need to look for is either dual action or random orbit. Depends on what you're working on. In my 20 years of business, I've found that dual action, or DA, works best for heavy material removal. So on heavy material, dual action means it goes forward and back, and the pad rotates at the same time. So it's dual action. It does forward and back action, side to side action, and it rotaries. It turns real slightly every time it goes forward and back. So it hogs off heavy material, and it'll also leave a very large circular pattern, right? Whereas I always use a random orbital for all of my finishing stuff. So random orbital is more like a star pattern inside of here. So this pad moves up and down and rotates all at the same time. So it goes up and down kind of in a star pattern. It kind of does like a random orbiting. So it orbits, circular, and it's random. So it's kind of all over the place. So it doesn't really have a set pattern. Now, if you push really hard on a random orbit, you can push it to a dead stop. You can stop it in place and it'll just jitter. A DA, a dual action, you can push as hard as you want and it's still gonna grind itself out. It'll blow the bearings out of this thing before it shuts down. So most DAs, dual actions, most of you guys are familiar with the Porter cables. These are one that we've been working with the company designing for about a year now, trying to perfect it before we release it to the public. These ones are the Makita ones. These are random orbits. I have the links for those down below for the Amazon links. These are what we use a lot of times in the shop. The DA we only ever really use when we're hand polishing a tanker or something in between our cut and our color, or if we're sanding a trailer rail. When we're sanding a trailer rail, we want to take off heavy material that first time, but after we've done it the first time, we only ever use a random orbit. Random orbit's what we use on our fuel tanks and stuff. We'll do rotary and then random orbit, as you saw if you watched that sanding video. But DA helps us cut down a ton of time when doing trailer rails and stuff because it hogs off a ton of material really fast. So a DA can be considered more aggressive. I was reading online the other day trying to figure out what the real difference was between DA and random orbit. And DA is considered more aggressive by more people, and I can definitely agree with that statement. And then the random orbit is more of a finishing sander. So if you're looking for the right setup, you now know the difference between random orbit and DA or dual action. So if you hear me say in my videos DA, you now know what I'm talking about. And I should probably start calling a random orbit what it is, an RO, instead of a DA. So for all future videos, I will start saying the proper term and try and make life a little easier for you guys. Thank you guys for stopping by. Please comment if you like this video, subscribe, share to your friends. You know the deal. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you later.